it's without dispute that Thanos is probably one of the best, if not the best, MCU villain. But what if you took him out of the equation? Who would be left? Find out. Hey everybody, welcome back to Comic YOUniverse, the only nerd-centric thing you need in your life, and we're back at it again with a top 10 list. And today we're going to be talking about top 10 MCU villains, excluding Thanos, because Thanos would be obvious number one.
Right, he would be definitely number one, and in some cases, he'd probably rank in the top 5 of all-time cinematic villains as is. One rule with our list, when we say MCU, we are expanding it into the full canon, even though it's very loosely based. The Netflix and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. do connect into the same universe, so they all fit within our universe. And spoiler alert, we are not going to have anything from the Inhumans on here, even though they would fit in this universe as well.
Yeah.
So.
And we're not going to have X-Men, because it's
MCU,
so they're not.
Exactly. So with our top 10 list, we're just going to we worked it out together. For the most part, our number 10, I'll start off since it's somewhat, the character on there is the one I really championed for. At number 10, we actually have a tie between Red Skull, which, come on, it's Red Skull. The only reason why he's so low on the list is because it's Red Skull. He should have had more prominence in the MCU. He should have been a bigger villain. He should have been more fierce. We should have had him back before the Infinity War, to be honest with you. He should have been more of a presence even in that. It's next to Doom and Magneto, he's right up there with their for most iconic villains in the Marvel Comics as is. Obviously, you got your Thanoses and Apocalypses too, but those three I would really say are like the cornerstones of the villains in their respective universe. So with that, I would knock Red Skull back. Just, we gave him the number 10 spot, but the person he is tied with is Ward from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I really championed for him to be on this list only because, considering how bad that show is, he was one of the shining lights to that show. It has gotten better. Some seasons, were better than others. But he as a character, he was really good. He had everyone fooled from the get-go, the audience, every character in the show. And him and May hooked up. Come on, he gets points just for that alone. And he was a physical match to her. They were sparring partners. I mean, anyone who could stand up to May, you're pretty top-notch. So that'll be number 10 for us. So I'll grab number 9.
All right, our number 9 is Baron Zemo. Well, he's not really called Baron, it's just Zemo.
Right.
And the reason why Zemo's on this list is because he did what no one else could. He defeated the Avengers.
True story.
In this just grand design plan that tore the Avengers apart, and he's still alive. He's still alive.
He's still out there, yeah.
And hopefully maybe we'll get Masters of Evil out of it, from him.
Fingers crossed we do get that. And again, some people didn't like the fact that he wasn't more in your face and more of a traditional villain. But sometimes it's the guy behind the curtain that's more of a threat than the guy, in your face,
Yeah.
So at number 9, Zemo. And number 8, we're going to go ahead and give this one to Hela. Now, some people will be like, Hela, how is she so low, considering how good and how popular that movie was? The reason why we have her low is because she was was that in your face. Though she was a force of nature, like you put it, she was this kind of that stereotypical villain, out for revenge. Dad did this to me. I wasn't hugged enough as a kid, so now I'm just pure evil is basically what it all boils down to. He locked me away in my room, and now I want revenge on everybody. Though she was really awesome and aesthetically pleasing, and she did have, the Necroblade, technically, if you will. She was kind of mashed with other characters, so she wasn't traditional in terms of the comic books. But she was a pretty dope character. Yeah. I really liked her.
It was Surtur who destroyed Asgard.
Right.
She wiped out Asgard.
Yeah, she pretty much killed every Asgardian there was. So, I mean, she would have, too, if they weren't ready to bow before her, she was killing everybody as is. So, I mean, she wiped the floor with Thor for the most part until he kind of regained some of his confidence with his Raiden power, if you will, as he did his best impersonation of Raiden. But I mean, she destroyed Thor's hammer. You know, that's got to count for something. But yeah, that's kind of where she falls on our list because we think the next set is going to be, I think, the best of the best in my opinion.
So number 7 is Ego from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And again, people are going, what? Well, Ego is interesting in that it's a whole planet, and I think it's more like why we like him is that it's more of Kurt Russell's performance.
Right. I think so too.
Yeah, where he has this kind of charisma to him, and he was kind of like a signal point for better villains in the MCU.
I would agree.
Yeah. And again, I think it was more from Kurt Russell's performance, but he had this just charisma to him. He had this. There's some great moments between him and Peter. Mm-hmm. All around, I think he was he was a powerhouse that you were fighting a whole friggin' planet. So I really enjoyed his whole thing. And yeah, at the bottom of his core, he's evil. But sometimes you just want villains to be evil, you know?
Right, yeah. Also, you know, with him, it really came down to charisma. I mean, he was just likable from the get-go. If they were going to turn him a good guy, you liked him. When he eventually turned bad guy, you still liked him. You're like, this guy's just cool. You just want to be his buddy. Maybe go grab a beer with him, play, catch like Peter did, and you totally were fine with that. And it is all thanks to, again, Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
So, at number 7, Ego. All right, so moving on, number 6. Now, to be honest with you, where we have this character, I think he could have fit anywhere between number 2 all the way down to number 6. And there was just slight things that we kept kind of knocking him down a bit. Especially between the 5 and 6 spot, that definitely could have been either or. But at number 6, we're going with the Vulture. And I know some people are gasping at home because he was probably the best part of Homecoming.
Yeah.
And I don't even think that's up for debate. He stole the show.
He was another, if you thought Ego was a great villain, he really, championed this whole era of, better villains for the MCU.
It may have started with Ego, but when Vulture hit the scene, Vulture was like, this is how we're doing villains from here on out. And since then, they've been pretty much on the upward side of things. This is a guy that is just so... First and foremost, they found a way to make this character much better than in the comics. And that's saying a lot from comic fans. I think when you can look at a villain and go, they kind of have a point. He's really not the bad guy in this equation. Sure, he may be breaking the law, but he was just trying to provide for his family. Yeah. The government came in
and his whole crew,
right? Yeah, and his men. Yeah,
when one of his guys threatens to back out, he's like, "You can't do that." I know you don't care, but I've got family and these people. I've got mouths to feed, and it's not just my family; it's this crew.
Right. Exactly, and all because basically, long story short, the government came in and took his job away from him and his boys, so he had to do what he had to do. And the scene. Yeah. In the car. You guys know
which one we're just whips
about.
That Glock out and
he just turns around and he looks at him, and it was at this moment Spider-Man knew he was in some heavy doo-doo. And it was probably one of the best I've ever seen out of a comic book movie where the villain figured out who the hero was.
Yeah, you just put it together. It's like, yeah, New York and Washington.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool to kind of see that. And Michael Keaton, I mean...
What more can you say?
What more, exactly. Even before Batman, the dude was amazing.
Yeah. And he's still alive.
Right.
The villain's still...
And he's supposedly going to be in... I don't know if they're going to call Homecoming 2 or whatever, but the next Spider-Man movie, he is classified to be in the film. So we'll see. I mean, I'm sure they'll be setting up a Sinister Six at some point.
So, and it's kind of interesting that they've made... Vulture kind of like Captain Cold in a way, where he's got these rules and stuff.
Oh, you're right. I didn't even think about that. That's actually a new dynamic to the character as well, how he didn't just give up who his identity was to Scorpion, if you will.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good catch. I like that you caught on to that. And funny enough, I promise this was not intentional. And since it seems like he's probably going to be the leader of the Sinister Six, if that ever does come around, that he is at our number 6. So it's kind of funny that we did that. Promise you, Universe, it was not intentional.
So our number 5, you.
All right, I'll take this one as well. Just
wait, it's back to me.
It is back to you.
Sorry. So number 5 is Loki. I know what you're thinking. Typical, right? Well,
that's why he's there. Really, to be honest, he again, this is a character that on any particular person's list, I think he could be anywhere in there. Yeah. But just out of obligation, we kind of felt like he had to be in the top 5. That's
and when you think about it, he's the one who brought the Avengers together. He had some great stuff in the first Thor movie. I think the Loki stuff is the best stuff in the Thor movie.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, like I love that scene where he's screaming at his father and Odin falls to the ground. He's like, "Oh God, I didn't mean to do that."
Right.
And he's just like freaking out because he's upset. Like all his world's just crashing down on him. And he thought his father, kind of stabbed him in the back, and it's a great scene. I mean, he became a hero in the end.
And that's another reason why we've knocked him down a couple of pegs, just because he's more of an anti-hero at this point.
Yeah. And Tom Hiddleston, dude, he really
is great. Yeah. I mean, and before everyone else on this list, and granted he came before most of these people on this list too, he was the shining star, and just kind of like the villains were just kind of existing around him. Yeah.
And then the big purple grimace guy came along and snapped his neck.
Right, he goes, "I'll take care of this one myself." So yeah, number 5 is the trickster god himself, Loki. Number 4. This is going to surprise some people because I know some people don't like this guy.
I don't know why. This is one of my favorites.
I know. I'm right there with you. Again, this is someone I think can fit anywhere in the top 6, I would say. And it is Ultron.
Yeah.
Now, though this movie I don't think is better than the first movie, Avengers 2, I think let's be honest, I really do wish that it was Pym that created him and not Tony Stark and Banner. But it worked. It worked for what they were going for. Yeah. It did its job. The voice acting was
by James Spader really knocks it out of the park.
Right. You feel the coldness in his heart. And again, he's a character he's like, "I'm only doing what you designed me to do to protect the world, and you guys are what's wrong with the world." Yeah. So it kind of boils down.
He was tough, intimidating, and some of the best lines, like, "I'm glad you asked that because I'd like to take this time to explain my evil plan." Like, he is just like, there's this charisma to him. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. But at the same time, he's intimidating. Like, when he captures that woman, he goes, "Scream and I will kill everyone in this room."
Yeah. Right? Exactly. Yeah. That scene, I was just like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And of course, he's the guy who, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we're going to be getting it, but he's the guy who started Claw on his way of resembling the actual comic books. He's the guy who ripped his arm off, cut his arm off, if you will.
So,
so Ultron, basically our number 4, and everything that you want from the character, you got, I think, to be honest with you. So this one is on you, number 3.
Another tie, because now we're dipping into the Netflix level.
Right.
So, it's a tie between Killmonger, the Purple Man, and Cottonmouth, but don't call him Cottonmouth to his face.
Right.
Oh my God.
Kilgrave, you meant, not Killmonger.
Kilgrave.
Yes.
There is a... Never mind.
Right, exactly. Kilgrave, the Purple Man, and Cottonmouth from Luke Cage. So, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage are up to bat here.
Yep. Two guys vastly different. Like, one's a gangster, one's a psychopath, and both brought this to intimidation. Both brought this, charisma. David Tennant, and I cannot pronounce Cottonmouth's actor's name.
Right.
Sorry, but he's equally awesome. The only reason Cottonmouth couldn't have gotten higher, because he should have been on this list, because he died halfway through the show, and I feel like that brought down the level of the show for me when Cottonmouth died, and Diamondback was just
Yeah, honestly, Cottonmouth, to switch up the word we've been using from charisma to swagger.
Yeah.
If there was a character, a villain, that had swagger, it was him.
Yeah, everybody wants to be the king.
Exactly. The imageries that we got with the notorious big poster behind him and the crown just tilted ever so slightly to look like it was on his head. And they're still rolling with that going into this new season. The imagery of that picture is so iconic, and to have this guy who he was nothing more than a gangster, and he posed the biggest threat to Luke Cage thus far. You know, he just had the town in the palm of his hand. He was the man with the plan, basically.
Yeah, and when, like, he also had some thoughts and feelings, like when Pops got shot, and,
right,
you know, killed, he was like,
right.
I didn't tell you to do that. And then he just threw the guy off the roof, and he's like, you can get your money down there.
Right, exactly. So he, again, kind of like Captain Cold, did have some rules.
But he was a little more, he wasn't afraid to get ruthless.
No, of course not. But he's like, he didn't necessarily want bad things go to some people that he respected. He just had to do what he had to do to make his living, basically. And in terms of the Purple Man, Kilgrave,
total monster. Just this horrifying thing coming to get it, like David Tennant could be like, we knew he could play scary from the Harry Potter films, but this really just kind of amplifies it. Oh, you're terrifying.
Right. Just when he's like tells people like cut your own eyelids off, like don't blink, don't stop staring at, like pour this coffee in your face, like just the little things like that, little like and it's all nonchalant to him.
Yeah.
The way he says it's like an everyday sentence, like don't blink and cut your eyelids off if she leaves this house, type of thing. And it's just like, oh, okay, do you realize what you just said? Or the fact when he told the dude to look at the fence and never stop, and then like a week later he still kind of, or maybe not a week later, but a couple days later they still show the guy standing there watching, looking at the fence. I was just like, man, this is ridiculous. And the sheer power, and just to know.
And he still is like a holdover here in his own way.
Right, yeah, he's still very much
a part of her life.
Got her, yeah. And just to know, when it came to him, sometimes it's the thing, just like in horror movies, sometimes it's the things that we don't see that are the scariest.
Yeah.
You know, with him, just because he didn't say it, or we didn't see him actually do it, you know he did it. Like, because he did it to one girl. He, you know, we're talking, you know, raping and things to that nature. And he's just, could have been, if it wasn't for the next two guys, he honestly could have been the top guy. Really could have been.
And the fact that he didn't have his head twisted around.
Well, yeah. So
anyway, so
number two, my personal favorite villain out of all of the MCU is actually at number two, and it's the Kingpin. And it all comes down to one scene for me, man. The scene where he's literally just sitting in his cell. Oh no, he's not even in his cell. He's actually sitting, looking at the wall, watching the paint dry, basically. And just the acting and the intimidation, and when he's just remembering what life was when he was a kid. It's that episode in Daredevil, when he's thinking back on basically how his father used to treat him. And he's just sitting there at the wall, and there's a bead of sweat dripping down his head, and his cheeks are kind of shaking because he's just in his own head. And I was just like, this dude is a monster. This guy is a maniac who's waiting to happen. And
we can't wait to see him in season 3.
God, yes. And then to see how he just gorilla pounded on the Punisher in oh man, the dude, it was fantastic. Perfectly casted. Everything I want out of a Kingpin character I'm getting from this guy, and I just cannot wait to see him. And I'm hoping really what happens is when he gets out, he just takes over. Like, he becomes...
I hope he gets the white suit.
Right, I hope so too. He just controls the city, basically. And you know, maybe if we're lucky, I doubt it'll ever happen, but maybe if we're lucky, we'll have him pop up somewhere in a Spider-Man movie, and I will be a happy, happy nerd. I really would be. Anything to say on Kingpin?
Well, I think it's because, like, also there is some sympathy to him, like, again, with his background and the romance he has with, you know, Vanessa, and the kind of it's dark, but at the same time it's kind of haunting, and also he's like, I like how they portray Kingpin as he's not used to having these kind of like feelings, as well as he's not used to physically meeting people. He's not, and you can understand that in some way. Like, he's not okay with, he's not a people person, and he's not socially like active in that way. Again, it goes back to the actor's portrayal of him.
Right, exactly.
And when he wants to get brutal, yeah.
Car door scene, gorilla pounding the Punisher. when Daredevil kind of went face to face with him in the when he's arrested and he just slams freaking Matt's face into the oh my god.
I can't wait. And the other thing is he's still alive,
right? And he's like, I'm in here and I'm still in control. What? And Daredevil's just like, or how about the dude that killed himself? He's like, if I tell you who he is, and he goes and kills himself because he's so afraid of what Kingpin will do to him. Just the mythos. They did such a good job of creating Kingpin in terms of a myth. He's like the Voldemort of the MCU. You just don't say his name. You just don't acknowledge that he exists. Basically. All right, so drum roll for our number one.
But first, honorable mentions.
Oh, you want to do that? Okay, we'll go. Okay.
So, quick run through of our honorable mentions. Alexander Pierce from Winter Soldier, great villain. Abomination from Incredible Hulk, because mostly I think it's because you said you liked it more when he was just Blonsky.
Blonsky, yeah. Just the actor and everything that we got prior to him actually turning into the Abomination, I thought was pretty intense. The fight scene in the park, he just seemed like somebody who was brutal enough to. I mean, if I saw a 9-foot hulking green Hulk, I'd be terrified. And he was like...
Yeah, your pants would be brown.
Oh, absolutely. And he was trucking through, trying to go toe-to-toe. And he, for all sense and purposes, held his own prior to getting kicked in the chest and kicked into the tree. So he was kind of doing his thing, and for that. And Justin Hammer, also, I want to give it an honorable mention, but more so for him in the terms of the comedic presence that he brought. Not traditional necessarily for the character, but he just was the poor man's Tony Stark. Yeah. That's basically what it all boils down to. And and the actor is just really good actor, and he brought that kind of quirkiness to it.
So number one is Eric Killmonger. And yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for Thanos, this would be our number one.
Yeah, he is our number one.
He is our number one
because we classify Thanos as a whole other level.
Yeah, but yeah, if it were not for Thanos, he would be the best, and he still is. Like he's still like a high level, and we talked about this in our Black Panther review, where we I think if I remember right, we talked about like, man, Killmonger's gonna be a tough act to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. I mean. Clearly, you can see how well Black Panther has done, and part of that is because of Killmonger. The sad thing is unfortunately he is gone. He is dead, and he's not in the movie as much as I would like him to be. But Michael B. Jordan just freaking knocks it out of the park. He just...
And throws out all these, you can understand where he's coming from.
The character, what's really special, I think, about it is it takes some of these stereotypes that you would get from a character in that situation dealing with those type of things, and he presents them to you in a way that, yes, they may seem like a stereotype, but he kind of flips the script. He's like, and especially in today's day and age, I think this helps the character, because with everything that we're dealing with social media, with cops and Black Lives Matter and things of that nature. It makes the character so relevant to this day. The only thing I hope is that, in 20 years' time, we don't look back and see him as a dated character. But I do think he's someone who's going to shine even, because he's got a point. I almost stand with him, maybe not the way about that he's doing it, but he clearly had a point in the whole thing. And you can kind of see that. I think T'Challa saw that. That's not just because he was family. T'Challa didn't want to kill him. It was because he's like, you're right.
Yeah. And it's because of Killmonger's that's the moment T'Challa has to change. Like, that's what I love about this movie, is that all of his villains force him to, M'Baku starts as a villain, but, switches. Right. But yeah, all of his antagonists are the reasons why he has to change. And Killmonger is an excellent form of that.
Absolutely. I would agree full-heartedly. So yeah, that's going to be our top 10 MCU villains. Now, there are still plenty of other characters in this.
I think for Claw was another for honorable mentions. Forgot.
Yeah, so yeah. And I actually could find a way to kind of throw him in the top 10 if I really wanted to, but we just didn't get enough. And my fingers crossed, still they're going to find a way to bring him back. I'm hoping there's some shenanigans with the snap and the Infinity Stones that would get him to come back somehow, but
Yeah, and this list may even change. There's
Well,
still
sure.
Marvel movies. That's the
Of
other
course,
thing.
that's
And Marvel Netflix shows. So for who knows, maybe Bushmaster will be on the list if we do an update.
Yeah, you know, he does seem like a character that could fit in that same realm of a Cottonmouth, so it is possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we stand as of now in the MCU universe. Let us know who's in your top 10, guys. Let us know, do you like our list? Do you hate our list? Where would you rank the people we've put on our list? And if you just think our list is trash, let us know. You know, as long as it's you bring a good point, we're right there to debate back with you guys. So until next time.
See you once more in the universe.